1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome everyone. I'm Joe Dager of Business 901, the host of the webinar. In the webinar, I'm going to primarily cover two areas and one particular theme. That is how to engage your salespeople in Lean, and as a result, how Lean assists engaging customers. I will be releasing an ebook at no cost to the attendees of this webinar in the next couple of weeks. Please log any questions that you have during the webinar in the chat box. I will not guarantee I will stop the webinar to answer them, but I will certainly answer all of them at the end. Let's get started. When applying Lean to sales, what is the outcome you desire? Now be honest about that. What are you really looking to get out of Lean and sales in combination? What I found, most people or organizations are looking at one thing, is to streamline sales, is to quicken the pace through the sales funnel. They want to work on the process. We're process people. We want to make things better, faster, and cheaper. To do that, what do we need? We need metrics, data. It is the process way of doing things. And who best to collect that data, that external data, than our salespeople? We also want pull. But I kind of question it sometimes because we think pull must come from the customer. But oftentimes pull may be coming from operations to get that data, to get leveling of sales out of the salespeople. This is how I think Lean is perceived by salespeople. You value stream map the process, you collect data for improvement, and then they pull on us for that information to make operations run better. Lisa Boo's TED video on how books can open your mind is going to be inserted in this point for some of the online things to watch. But if you can, I encourage you to take the time out. It's only a 6-minute video. But she makes 3 very specific points in this video. She uses the map to symbolize it is just someone's view. It's very interesting because when you look at a map, it's usually the center of it is your country of origin. What happens if you take your country of origin, put it on the edge, and put the opposite part of the world in the center? The map looks totally different. She talks about reading books with comparative views, but different processes. She also reads books with opposing views on the same subject. And that's the point. The map is just someone's point of view. It may not be the salesperson's or the customer's. It's typically from the operation. You know, the same views are just different ways of going about it. But what I can guarantee you, if you make the process prescriptive, you essentially kill any hope for engagement. What really is the intention of Lean? Lean tools should bring evidence to help us. Lean methods done right can create emotional integration. And why not give sales a helping hand? Peter Schultes said, sales and marketing have never been against systemizing the process. They have been against being systemized by the process. One of the things that I found out is when I revisited the work of Dr. Deming and a few of the people that he worked directly with, such as Peter Schultes and Brian Joyner, I'm amazed at the clearness of thought that they offer. Completely untainted with Japanese words and constant references to Toyota. At times lately, I felt like I should be a Demonite versus a lean guy. The guy in the bottom center is AKO. He's a person from where you may have first read about QFD and Hoshin Conroy. Getting more to what I think that we need in the agile world, I started gravitating to that. And you'll find John Boyd's unifying theory of this thing that we ended up calling agility, okay, or agile. And his key agility concept was that of the decision cycle, or the OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, and act. Observe. That's the lightning quick collection of relevant information about your current environment. And it's more of it by means of the senses rather than drawn out data analysis. There's a challenge in there, of course, is picking the right data to focus on. When we orientate, the analysis and synthesis of information to form one's current mental perspective. This is where information is turned into what I would say situational awareness. Decide is the determination of a course of action based on one's current mental perspective. Act is the physically carrying out of the decisions. Of course, while your action is taking place, it will change the situation, favorably or unfavorably. Then the loop repeats again and again in real time as nothing is standing still. A 42nd Boyd was John Boyd's nickname. He was a Top Gun type, the Viper. Okay, maybe he was similar to him. And he would bet that he could be on your tail in 40 seconds in a fighter pilot. And he used this decision-making matrix to do this. Well, I think it must have worked because the name stuck. Leading companies are taking this unsystematic approach to business innovation and turning it into repeatable, managed business processes. Disney has a process. GE has one called GenCore. The Mayo Clinic calls one Spark. Lean Startup. Eric Ries's original thoughts contained much of the OODA loop principles. Bill Detmer's latest book, talks about the OODA loop. Don Reinertson, his latest. And on have included the OODA loop as their basic thoughts. I stumbled applying OODA to Lean, till it finally dawned upon me that it was the CAP-DO, not a PDCA cycle. Look at the ingredients. Observe. We want to check. Orientate is the act cycle that we go and we make adjustments. Plan is the hypothesis, the decision. Do is really the act. It's the action. It's where we test it. In Hoshin, oftentimes CAP-DO is referred to, and also in some product development cycles. And where I found CAP-DO first popularized was by Brian Joyner and AKO. Lean, as most of us understand it, STCA, PDCA, requires reframing, a different look at the process. If a consultant tells you it is the same, I'd probably run. The supply side is different than the demand side. You should not use a hammer to take out a screw. It screws things up. Sales is a social practice that takes into consideration internal and external factors and experience. Now, a good analogy is think of the factors affecting how someone learns in schools. We think about curriculum, school organization, counseling, assessment, behavior, and so forth. All internal factors. However, think of the society factors. External factors such as home, neighborhood, peer groups, and all the others. Which is more influential? And what do you think is more influential in a salesperson's job? Internal or external factors? Adaptive learning, the OODA loop, CAP-DO are different than your traditional improvement cycles. At KO, use CAP-DO and Hoshin, as I said. And think about when we play catchball down through the processes of objectives, strategies, and tactics. At KO and Turninko, use CAP-DO and QFD work. And in lean software, in the lean startup, it's basically a derivative of the OODA loop or CAP-DO. It is the appropriate cycle we need as a lean sales method. Applying CAP-DO will develop deeper perception of a customer and the experiences they have. Now, when I use the CAP-DO cycle, I rely heavily on Otto Scharmer's work that he captured in the book Theory U. And that work is heavily influenced by Peter Senge of the Fifth Discipline fame. We're back to systems thinking, and we're back to Dr. Deming. But in CAP-DO, we are asked to first learn by reflecting on the experiences of the past. So looking and thinking corresponds to checking and acting. Plan and do represents the interactions of learning by doing. And we learn from the future as it emerges that way. The reason I talk about the Theory U, because when applied to the CAP-DO cycle, it does a remarkable job of explaining the shift required from internal thinking as an organization and moving to a collective external thinking. Scharmer actually calls this link the field structure of attention. Now, another writing that can assist in this explanation is The Plugged-In Manager by Terry Griffith. And I think that it's an interesting way you'd be looking at the same view. Check is initiating. It's uncovering the common intent. And we work, we're working internal to the organization to do that. And the plugged-in manager that I mentioned calls it stop, look, and listen. Act, then, is co-sensing. It's observing and connecting with peoples and places, Gemba, to sense a system from the whole. It's external with customers or the outside environment that we must do. The plugged-in manager calls it mixing. Then we pause. We reflect on what we know before moving on and initiating action. Plan then becomes creating the hypothesis, the prototypes. And the prototypes are living examples to explore the future. Again, we create this internally. Okay, what is our hypothesis? And from the plugged-in manager, it's how are we going to share? Do is the evolving. This is sharing externally. Sometimes it's difficult to notice, but during these cycles, we're shifting from the internal work of checking and planning to the external work of acting and doing. Our teams are facing new challenges that are solved by collective thought. This collective thinking needs to be done internally, externally, and across organizations. It will not come naturally and needs to be created and learned. This is what makes lean powerful. I encourage you not to go down this path. It is a prescription for cost savings, not growth. Salespeople return from an external world that has afforded them the opportunity to explore, converse, share ideas, and ask questions. They are met upon the return to a restrictive internal world. It is what separates the demand side from the supply side. That cap-do cycle is what makes lean a viable tool in sales. If we want to be customer-focused and customer-centric, we cannot start with planning and definition of a customer's problem. It is not about us being problem solvers with a predefined product or service that we offer. Instead, we must focus on checking what a customer really wants, understanding the job that is needed to be done. We must uncover common intent through listening and discovery. CAP-DO is the alignment and understanding incorporated in daily actions and the ultimate driver for sales marketing efforts. We make connections to what is known and what needs to be learned. And that is today's sales funnel. Use lean as your growth engine and do something big.